Okay, I'm going to go through the notes real quick. Um, Again, really quick, since I went ahead and I went through them all before, I'll briefly go through here. The male reproductive system is relatively straightforward. So you have the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and testes, right? So remember that the hypothalamus releases the hormones, um, um, and that goes to the anterior pituitary gland, which releases FSH and LH, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, which trigger the testes to produce testosterone, and then that stimulates sperm production. You guys can go through this. This is just the negative feedback system in blood testosterone. If you have too much blood, there's too much testosterone in the blood, inhibits the stimulation of LH, um, and then that would decrease, you know, the amount of testosterone. Where you have too low, stimulates the production of LH, and then causes more testosterone to be released. So just remember that if it's too low, it actually has to stimulate the hypothalamus, and the gonadotropin reducing hormone needs to be released um, to the pituitary gland, where if it's too high, the production is just inhibited at the pituitary gland. These are secondary sex characteristics of the male: body hair, Adam's apple, thickening of skin, muscular growth, broadening shoulders, narrow waist, and then the thickening and strengthening of bones. In the female, there's a little bit more complex, only because they have to have ovulation and protection for the if a fetus needs to be developed, right? So controls maturation of the egg, development of the secondary sex characteristics, and the monthly menstrual cycle. Again, the same hypothalamus, anterior pituitary gland, and instead of the testes, we have the ovaries that are involved. So the estrogen is the primary hormone produced by the ovaries. It's also responsible for the secondary sex characteristics: breasts, mammary glands, um, deposition of fatty tissue in the breasts, thighs, and buttocks, and then vascularization of the skin. Other hormones involved are progesterone, which are also produced by the ovaries, and that promotes changes in the uterus during the cycle. It's responsible for increasing the uterine wall. We also have testosterone, which is responsible for hair growth. Okay, so our reproductive cycle starts with the production of FSH, the follicle stimulating hormone, which obviously um, stimulates the maturation or growth of the follicle. And those cells will release estrogen. And then we also have the luteinizing hormone, which will stimulate ovulation, which is the release of the ovary from the follicle. The estrogen stimulates the wall development, while the progesterone stimulates the vascularization of the endometrium, the inner lining of the uterus. If it is not fertilized, right, then the corpus luteum, or the the thickness of the walls, will start to break down due to the decrease of hormones, of progesterone and estrogen. And then it disintegrates and sloughs off, and that's the menstrual flow. The anterior pituitary gland starts secreting the follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone again. All right. And then the cycle repeats. And so here's our chart of all the hormones. We have the estrogen increasing. We'll start with the luteinizing hormone, and then the follicle stimulating hormones increases. Um, and then, so that's the maturation of the follicle. And then we have the estrogen and progesterone being released after, and that's the uterine activity where the walls get thick. We have the vascularization on the wall of the progesterone, and the thickness, the development of the wall due to the estrogen. And then once those decrease, then the inner wall dies, and that's when it. So here's a continuation of the start of the cycle again. All right. What does birth control do? A woman takes estrogen and progesterone to keep those levels steady, so you don't have um, the ovulation occur. Okay, so it keeps it steady. And we went over this in class as well. How does birth control work? And that's pretty much it. It's uh, that's it for the notes. So again, a little choppy. I apologize for that, but we shall see you in class.